Hi everybody and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to share with you how I healed my skin from the inside out and how I discovered what was actually causing the acne that I was suffering with, but also how I maintained healthy skin from the inside out and also maintained it till today and hopefully always onwards. So without further ado, let's get into it. So to kick off, basically I suffered with acne, cystic acne. I had cysts like around my neck area. I had them on my face. I had also small whiteheads and this is TMI, but they had pus in them. But it's important to talk about it because I know so many people who are going through this and also suffering and also not knowing why. And I know a lot of us have probably gone to the doctor or kind of spoken to friends and family and got tips on what we think is the right thing to do. But yeah, I hope that through what I share today, I'm not saying this is going to work for everybody. This was my own personal journey, but at the same time, if it helps one person, then I really hope it makes an impact on you, even if you take away or learn something new. So to start off with, around 5-6 years ago, when I was at uni and studying and kind of going through final year, I definitely noticed a lot more changes in my skin. I just started having, like I said before, cysts around my skin, my neck and my face, and I was wondering why. I thought it was diet only, but there are other things which I'll come on to, such as exercise and nutrition and fitness, that also impacted it, and obviously skincare. So a multiple list of things, but I discovered that it was starting to become painful. It was kind of distracting me from my day-to-day. I also didn't feel good within myself. It used to impact my mental health a lot. I also had family and friends sort of try and help, especially my mum and her relatives or people we used to meet in the community. They would say, what's wrong with her skin. So I kind of realized I need to do something about it, and not because of just what other people were saying, but how I was feeling inside. I definitely lost that confidence. And I wanted to heal it. I really got to a point where I was there must be a way. So I ended up going to the doctors. Firstly, I kind of shared with them what my journey was, what I had been experiencing, and they recommended to try a couple of things. A was the pill and B was antibiotics. And the antibiotics route, I think, which is, I won't go into the pill too much now. I know there's a lot of insight into it, but at that time, I just wanted to, I just chose the antibiotics route because, I think that was kind of what was, it kind of wasn't, it was sold to me that it would kind of help. But little did I know the reality of antibiotics. I didn't do enough research, let's just say. So I went and took the course and it cleared everything. It took all that time where I was struggling with it. It's this antibiotics came and got rid of it all. It was insane and it was great. And I went back to the GP after, I think it was a 3 months kind of course that I was on, and she was also great, it's cleared, we're done. It's finished. So I was yes, it's done, I don't have to worry about this anymore. But after a few weeks of not taking antibiotics, everything started to slowly come back. And I also realised, this was also coming into COVID, that, this was before COVID, but approaching it, before we even knew it existed. But I was I realised, okay, this is helping me. Let me try it again. And I realised it was a solution, potentially. So I went back to the doctor and she said, let's try it again. It might have been that the first course wasn't as effective as we would have thought. Let's see. So we went on another course of antibiotics. And this, again, did the same thing. But unfortunately, what you don't realize, or I wish I did the research at the time, but it's part of the journey and the experience of how I even got to today, is it was ruining my gut lining. Antibiotics are so incredibly powerful to kill what is not helping our body, but it's also, as I learned, killing the good bacteria as well as the bad. So I then discovered that my gut was being affected through the next step in this whole journey, which is then me realizing that as soon as I came off the antibiotics, this wasn't helping. It was coming back. It wasn't curing it. And I got kind of fed up of and I also kind of felt the impact within me. I can't even describe it to you, but my stomach used to hurt more, and no wonder, because I was on antibiotics longer than I should have been on antibiotics. But yeah, I then realized that I can't do this anymore. So I researched and Googled, and I discovered homeopathy. And if you haven't heard of homeopathy before, it's essentially somebody who looks at your holistic health and well-being, which is where my interest kind of lies anyway, is healing naturally now, the more I've learned about it, right? So I discovered that I want to heal it naturally, and I need to go and talk to someone who will specialize in that. So I found this incredible person near where I live, and she basically told me, we walked through what I ate, which was so interesting because I didn't go through that in the doctor's experience. And she also looked at my lifestyle, stresses and all that sort of stuff. And again, this is not a discredit to I have friends and family who are doctors. It's just, I think at the time it was more not cure, but sort of treat situation. And I think I really wanted the cure. So this homeopathist, I think that's the right word, but I might be completely wrong. But the lady who practiced homeopathy, she shared with me about diet, which was the biggest thing I learned in this whole journey. I don't even know how I can emphasize this enough, but this changed my life. I'm going to get emotional thinking about it, but she basically said, what do you eat? Let's walk through what you eat. And her first kind of note was, you're having a lot of gluten. And I was like, I didn't really think about it so much. It's part of normal life, right? Having gluten, etc. And she was like, you also have a lot of dairy. And I love cheese, let's be honest. We all love cheese. Well, most of us do. But she said to me that those two could be causing inflammation alongside the antibiotics, which have sort of affected your gut lining, which can cause things like leaky gut, etc. But it basically means that all the not nice things within our bodies can be sort of transporting their way around into our blood and kind of impacting us in different ways. That's what my understanding was of it was then. And I then realized that things like probiotics I wasn't taking. I also wasn't eating well. I was eating, but I wasn't eating nutritionally, if that makes sense. Nutritiously, sorry. And I discovered through her gluten and dairy, and she did a couple tests which were non-invasive, but then afterwards I went and did my own test where you send your blood and you can see what foods you might be allergic to or have an intolerance to. And this is when I realized I have a gluten and dairy intolerance. And wow, it was life-changing. I am incredibly proud of myself when I look back on it, because I've realized this, and because I was in such a place of I need to heal it and I will commit to this. And I think I'm naturally quite a disciplined person anyway, but I realized that if I want to make a change, I'm going to do so and try cutting it out. And she said, try cutting it out and see how you feel. And I did. And I cut it out for 3 months, and during this process, my skin was sort of purging because I was coming off the antibiotics again, and I was also not eating dairy and gluten. So there was kind of this weird limbo phase that was happening. And I then kind of got out of that antibiotics phase where it was purging, and then I then started to see the impact of me not eating gluten and dairy. So cutting out things like normal wheat, normal breads. There's things like, I think, rye, barley, spelt. There's quite a few things that do have gluten in it, and dairy wise, obviously any sort of milk, butters, all that sort of stuff like that. Oh my god, I first started noticing it within 3 months and being like, wow, my skin is clear. And then after 6 months, then it also just got even better, and it was incredibly life-changing. And I'm not saying in this video that that is the answer to everything, but what I'm saying is, from my experience, that food healed me. Eating the right food healed me, and cutting out the foods that caused inflammation impacted me so positively. So that, I think, is the biggest thing I want to share, is what you eat or what you put inside of you is going to appear on your face and your skin. And it wasn't even the gluten and dairy that I learned about. I learned more about refined sugars, how they cause that inflammation, but also like, it sounds dramatic, but it is like poison. Like, these impact you longer term. We don't really notice it in the moment. So I started cutting out things like refined sugar, and I'm all about enjoyment, of course. Still, like, I still have dessert. If you know me, you know I love a dessert and I love ice cream. So it's not like I completely have cut this out of my life. Like, moderation, I think I subconsciously practiced an 80-20 rule, where I eat 80% well, 20% like treats, etc. But cutting out things like refined sugar, fried food, it showed up on my skin, and a natural sort of healthy feeling came inside out. And I also discovered things, moving on to the gut health focus of this. So the first part was obviously discovering about gluten and dairy, but gut health, I learned so much about probiotics, prebiotics, the sort of right bacteria that we should be taking. I can definitely link below supplements that I decided to take to help me heal that, heal my gut after the antibiotics experience. I didn't realize I learned so much. Like, it's not good being on antibiotics for that long. Things like healthy fermented foods like kombucha. I love kimchi. I have that every day now. Also eating whole foods like leafy greens, certain fishes, like if you're not a vegetarian, having your protein. Like, there's so much I can go into, but I won't go into it all right now. But just sharing with you that these are the things that I discovered along the way. And the final bucket of it was skincare and exercise. So I was already kind of going to the gym and sort of moving my body, but I wasn't really committed to it. But during this whole process, I got into my fitness routine even more, which is what I still do to this day and have evolved, like sweating and getting my body moving to help pump that blood, and also create like just that movement within. And also things like skincare, which again I'll come on to another video, but learning about the right products, what suited me, which I'll definitely go into in another point, and what my routine is now to sort of maintain it. And I've always feel like skincare is an addition to what we're doing and feeding ourselves. It has so much power to heal as well, obviously with the right ingredients and finding what's right for you. But for context, I have like oily, like T-zone, and you could say like acne prone, but touch wood, like it's a lot better. And I only really break out or have like a moment if I'm due on. So yeah, that is what I wanted to share. And let me know if you've experienced something similar, how your journey has been, what helped you heal. And I'd love to hear also, like, you know, what your experience has been, because if you suffered with acne or experienced it, and just know that I know from a deep level it can affect how you feel about yourself. But what I also came out with knowing is, even when I was going through the phases of having acne, so much of it didn't take away I'm gonna get emotional, but it doesn't take away from who you are. Like, it doesn't define you. It's not something where, you know, once it's gone, you know, life is better. Like, of course not. It's just, I think it just comes down to holistic health and seeing it from that respect, as opposed to something which you just treat but you don't cure, and something that you don't maintain. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, and I really hope this was helpful for you in any way. And please share and drop me a message if it was. But yes, I hope you found this valuable, and I look forward to chatting about it more in future videos. But thank you for listening, and yeah, like I said, my experience, but find what works for you. But I really wanted to share this because it literally changed so much for me. So yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.